Let's check out what's been moving the needle, starting at Fenway, where Alex Cora's club was outscored 40-10 this past weekend in a lopsided series that looked to be a statement for both the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, and for opposite reasons here, Hannah. What the H is happening in Boston? I can say hell, right? This cable television. What the hell is happening in Boston?
You know better than I do. So
Double hockey stick.
I liked this quote from Alex Cora. The brand of baseball that we're playing is awful. And then he got more specific. We're not catching the ball. We're not putting up good at-bats. We're not throwing strikes. And I was like, yeah, those are really all the things at that point. Maybe they're running well. I don't know. I didn't check. It doesn't look great. And here's the thing. It's when you give up, 28 runs, and it's like, that's one game. This counts the same as if you lost 1-0. But then they went and got swept, and it was like, oh, okay, never mind. Oh, playing poorly.
It's not good.
Not good.
And by the way, outscored 67-13 in 5-game losing streak acts.
Yeah, the one thing for me is when you're not hitting and you're not scoring runs, like, you cannot win ball games. Like, all the little stuff, all the details, like, that speaks for itself. Everybody can see that on TV. You work on PFPs every single day during spring training. You can't even do that in a normal game. And I look at this team being a lot of holes in a lot of different places. Guys on the injured list. You got Devers out. You got Trevor Story out. First base has been a huge hole there. The relief pitching has been troubled. The starting pitching has been troubled. This is a team that I start looking at, do you sell? Do you start selling off and try to figure out how am I going to get better within the next couple of years? Because this has been pretty ugly over the past couple of weeks, and they've been extremely inconsistent. I even look at the beginning of the season.
I was going to say, that's the thing. It's what do you do when you have a team that's talented, but they're playing sloppy? And you're kind of like, hey, I kind of thought you guys were going to get it together at some point. You said we're at the midpoint. We're not. We're way past the midpoint. This was a late All-Star game. If you're still looking like you're making those same mistakes that made people be like, hey, maybe they should sell in the first month, and the Red Sox were like, hey, hold your horses, we're going to get it together. They still haven't gotten it together.
Yeah,
so.
And to your point, some of the moves should have been made earlier on in the season. I look at specifically first base. They've needed that help since the beginning of the season. Same thing with relief pitching. And when you have as many injuries as you've had, then those things get exposed and magnified that much more.
And I think it becomes a cultural thing in the clubhouse, right? You're just always waiting for, like, the other shoe to drop, just almost expecting it when you show up to the park, Keith. But if you're a Red Sox fan watching at home, you're like, well, wait a second. We're still at 500. We're still in the playoff picture.
Right. They're like 3 games out of the wild card spot, so I don't think they're going to be sellers. What I do think is injuries to key players, it hurts the whole team. Chris Sale comes back, breaks his pinky the first start back. It's like, come on, we were hoping this guy was going to give us a boost. You talked about the pitching. They're rolling anybody out there to pitch. Doesn't matter who pitches for them. They're just hoping. Devers was hurt before the break. He's hurt after the break. He's their main hitter, main guy that they look to, like, give them offense. I also had a theory about those lights in Fenway, right? Because the ball kept getting lost in the lights. I'm like, they got to change the lights. But then it happened during the day, and I'm like, no, these guys are just all over the place. They got to get it together. Alex Cora's got to, I don't know, tell these guys have a players-only meeting because there's still, like you said, a lot of games left.
You said so, right. They're not going to be sellers because they're only 3 games back in the wild card. They still have 26% postseason odds. But that's the weird thing about this particular season with the expanded postseason coming after an offseason in which teams didn't know that was coming. It feels like we have so many teams bunched up right around that sort of second wild card spot that I don't know. Right, look, so right now the Red Sox are half a game above the Orioles. And it feels like, of course, the Orioles are going to sell, and of course the Red Sox aren't going to sell. I don't know how these teams are going to make that decision. It really feels like it's going to come down to the wire, especially for teams like the Red Sox.
Wild deadline.
But you can also buy and sell at the same time. When you look at guys like a J.D. Martinez, that's a guy a lot of teams will be looking to add to the middle of the order. We understand he's going to be a free agent. Xander Bogaerts can opt out of his contract if they don't see him necessarily, or if they want to be able to go get somebody for him or some prospects, they can always re-sign him if they want him at the end of the season. Same thing with if you want to move a Trevor Story over shortstop and you want to go bye-bye to Xander Bogaerts. There's options that you have to get better extremely soon. And I also look at Nathan Eovaldi. He's another guy that could be on the trade blocks as well. So they can get some stuff back, and immediate results will come if they get the right guys.
And rentals don't get you all that much anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really retool for the same season, I don't think, with a rental.
But you can retool for a season, the next season, and the season after that. I'm just saying, if you know that the opportunity for this team is going to be tough this year because of the injuries and because of the starting pitching. When you don't have a foundation of pitching, it's going to be tough. And I look at, you have teams like the Rays doing better. You look at Orioles, the division has gotten better, stronger. Yankees aren't going anywhere. And the same thing with the Blue Jays. They've gotten better. Now you also look at the team over on the West Coast and the Mariners. That's a team that's gotten better. Chicago, they're coming. The White Sox are coming. It's going to be tough for this team to make the playoffs.
And they haven't had a single series win in their division this entire season. They do have a chance to make up some ground as they begin a 4-game series with the Guardians today. So they're just, 3 games ahead of them there in the wild card race. And then, of course, you have the deadline. That's a week from tomorrow.
What you said right there, no series win in their own division. That tells me everything I need to know.
I was going to say, in general, I try not to pay too much attention to that, but the AL East may be the division where that makes the most sense to pay attention to because so many of the postseason teams are going to come
all 3
from
AL East teams outside of the Yankees.
And if you're that second wild card team, you're not playing a game at home. You're playing against your division on the road. And if they can't do that, then I don't know that you're buying this season to try to make that run at that second wild card team so you can play one
looking
series
at the
on
Red
the road.
Sox and their history and their ballpark and what they did last year surprising people, they might think they can go for it, get in the tournament, and surprise people again.